Tonight on Newswatch, Ohio lawmakers pass a number of bills affecting criminal charges in the state.
Plus, key takeaways from the U.S. Supreme Court as justices hear arguments in former President Trump's immunity case.
And protests and arrests continue at colleges and universities across the U.S. as students call on an end to U.S. aid to Israel.
A bill closing a loophole in the state's rape laws is on its way to Governor DeWine's desk. Good evening, I'm Donovan Varney.
And I'm Lucy Schaefer. Welcome to Newswatch. The bill eliminates exceptions in the law on rape, sexual battery, and other sexual offenses that apply when the victim and the attacker are married. The Senate voted unanimously to send it to the governor's desk yesterday. Efforts to close the spousal rape loophole go back to 1985, with a minority of lawmakers over the years expressing concerns about rape allegations being used as wedges in divorce cases. On the other side of the State House, House lawmakers pass a bill increasing the felony classifications for trafficking certain amounts of drugs.
This means harsher penalties for people caught trafficking drugs like cocaine, fentanyl, or heroin. Lawmakers overwhelmingly passed House Bill 230 yesterday with a vote of 79 to 13. The bill would increase charges for drug trafficking, the largest of which would be for fentanyl. Supporters say this brings state and federal laws closer in alignment, but some say this goes too far.
The crisis our state and our country are facing is catastrophic. House Bill 230 is what Ohio needs to combat the drug and human trafficking epidemics.
Let's do some preventative work and not reactionary work that's actually going to cost us more money for prisons. Let's put money into ending addiction.
In addition to sentence increases, House Bill 230 would create programs for students to help teach them about drugs and their side effects. The bill now heads to the Senate. Ohioans in House District 32 near Akron have a new representative. Jack Daniels has been appointed to fill the vacant seat left behind by former Representative Bob Young. Young resigned in October after being indicted on domestic violence and assault charges. Daniels was endorsed by the Summit County GOP to take the position in October and won the Republican primary for it in March. He says he is willing and ready to work with all members.
Not let anyone else's opinion of any of you influence my opinion of you. My goal will be to make singles and doubles. I think that always reaching for home runs is looking for attention, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to get things done.
Daniels will serve out the rest of Young's term unless he's elected in November.
Ohio health officials are concerned as more younger people are falling victim to the second most common cause of cancer deaths in America, colorectal cancer. The head of the Ohio Department of Health, Dr. Bruce Vanderhoff, says rates among people under 55 have risen between 1% and 2% each year since the 1990s. He says millennials have twice the risk of colon cancer compared to people born in the 1950s and 4 times the risk in older age groups. Vanderhoff says a focus on diet and lifestyle can help prevent rates from continuing to rise.
Right now, you're about to be taking a look live outside at Nelsonville, where it's another sunny but chilly day here in Southeast Ohio. And as we head into the weekend, it seems like some warmer weather may be in store.
Yeah, Donovan, here with us now is forecaster Steve Nedlick. Now, Steve, I know it's been cold around here a little bit, but it's end of April. People are starting to look forward to summer. What's the weather looking like?
We're certainly going to have a little bit of a warm up over these next few days as we have some warm air coming in from the Midwest. So we're really going to see a little bit of rain over the next few days, but mostly great temperatures. So you can hang outside, especially like today with those sunny skies and a high of 63. Now, due to that lack of clouds that we've had over the past few days, it does get pretty chilly overnight with a low of 32 degrees. So currently, we have sat right at our high with a temperature of 63 degrees and again, sunny skies. Now, you can see here, as again, a result of those lack of clouds, temperatures really drop overnight. So if you have any plants that you want to, stick around for very long, you should bring them inside overnight. Now, because of this, we have had frost advisories and special weather statements both issued as a result of these colder temperatures and frost advisories. Looking into this, we can see this high pressure really move out the clouds and rain that we saw with those colder temperatures over the past few days. And behind it, we'll see that warmer air and that rain coming behind. So over the next few days, watch out for some raindrops, but warmer temperatures. Again, this will set up over the next few days and continue to affect us. Stick around for more.
Thanks, Steve. Doctors in Ohio are closely watching a case in the U.S. Supreme Court looking at a federal law requiring hospitals that receive federal money to provide emergency treatment. The Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act, or EMTALA, was passed as a way to prevent hospitals from turning away patients in emergencies because they lacked health insurance. The Biden administration sued Idaho for adopting an abortion ban that conflicts with the law. If the court rules states can preempt the EMTALA, that could cause ER doctors to delay or deny care or therapeutic abortions in emergency situations. A ruling on the case is expected in June. The Idaho abortion case is just one of the major cases up in the court right now.
In another case, former President Donald Trump's claim of total immunity from criminal prosecution for his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election held arguments today. The justices' questions hinted that they may reject Trump's claim, but in a way that delays the federal trial against him.
Karen Kafa is in Washington with more.
The U.S. Supreme Court hearing historic arguments Thursday over former President Donald Trump's claim of absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts as president in the federal election subversion case against him.
Without presidential immunity from criminal prosecution, there can be no presidency as we know it.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson pushing back on Trump's attorney's argument.
If the potential for criminal liability is taken off the table, wouldn't there be a significant risk that future presidents would be emboldened to commit crimes with abandon while they're in office?
Justice Brett Kavanaugh pressing the arguments of special counsel Jack Smith's office that there is no constitutional reference to immunity for former presidents.
It's not explicit in the Constitution, but also executive privilege is not explicit in the Constitution.
A middle ground ruling by the court could kick proceedings back to a lower court and further delay the trial of Trump on federal charges that he attempted to subvert the results of the 2020 election. But the court also weighing the implications for presidents beyond Trump.
You also appreciate that we're
Yes.
writing a rule for
Yes.
the ages.
The oral argument, stretching nearly 3 hours, took place while Trump was in New York, where his trial on criminal hush money charges related to the 2016 election continues.
A president has to have immunity. If you don't have immunity, you just have a ceremonial president. You won't have a president.
The Supreme Court could issue a ruling in the immunity case at any time before the end of their term in late June. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Coming up, new regulations that could impact your access to the internet.
And a new report shows the U.S. economy is cooling down. More on what that means when we come back.
Warmer weather is on the way. Stick around to find out when it gets here next.
On the American Buffalo.
You don't get a lot of chances to correct history's mistakes.
Unlikely alliances are formed.
The early conservation movement is full of people who did the right thing for the wrong reasons.
But is it already too late?
This is not just a story of tragedy. This is a story of persevering and continuing on.
Don't miss the conclusion of The American Buffalo.
Tonight at 9 on WOUB.
Thanks to viewers like you, we've been able to tell America's stories on this PBS station. Help us continue to tell these stories now and for future generations by including this station in your charitable plans.
Supporting this PBS station through a gift of stock is easy. To find out more, call the number on your screen or visit this website. Thank you.
For more than 70 years, WOUB Public Media has been the place where people in our region turn to learn how stories of the past ignite the imagination of the future. It's where information, entertainment, and education work together to inform, enlighten, and inspire generations. It's the place where the community gathers to hear and see our world in new and innovative ways. WOUB, the public media you trust that's worthy of your support.
A disaster that brought Chicago to its knees.
Everybody's on their own, and everybody's helpless.
An immigrant who shouldered the blame.
She was a woman, she was an immigrant, and I think it was so easy to pick somebody like that.
A city determined to rise from the ashes.
There's a sense that this fire can't stop us.
The Great Chicago Fire on American Stories.
Monday at 10 on WOUB.
The U.S. economy cooled more than expected in the first quarter of the year, but remains healthy by historical standards. Economic growth has slowed steadily over the last year, a positive for lower interest rates, but it's unclear when cuts will be made. Ivan Rodriguez has the takeaways from the latest numbers.
The U.S. economy has been running hot since the end of the pandemic, but growth slowed in the first quarter of this year.
The economy is still trying to return to whatever the new version of normal is, and I think we're in that process now.
The economy remains shockingly resilient, unemployment is still under 4%, and consumer spending is robust. But some economists say those strengths could also make bringing down inflation more difficult.
The reality is that high prices are to some degree reflecting the strong demand for all kinds of things that is consistent with a robust economy.
Last week, the International Monetary Fund upgraded its forecast for U.S. economic growth to 2.7% this year, more than half a point higher than it predicted in January. The U.S. is currently outpacing other advanced economies, like many in Europe, which are expected to grow just 0.8% this year.
What the IMF is saying is that global risks are essentially balanced right now, meaning that we should not necessarily be bracing for the worst.
But the IMF warned strong growth can also result in an economy that's overheating, and cautioned the U.S. Federal Reserve not to cut rates too soon. The central bank seems to agree, some Fed officials even suggesting rates could be on hold for the rest of 2024.
We're going to be stuck with higher borrowing costs for longer. This isn't all bad. It reflects the fact that the U.S. economy has remained more resilient and robust.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
A sign of recovery almost a month after the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore. Today, the first cargo ship since March has successfully left the harbor. The ship left this morning alongside 2 tugboats. This trip went through a new temporary channel made around the wreckage. The Maryland Port Administration says this channel will likely be open for about 4 days and predict a permanent channel will be available within the next 5 to 6 weeks. Crews have removed roughly 2,900 tons of wreckage from the site so far.
The Federal Communications Commission reinstates laws barring internet providers from slowing down or blocking access to certain content or apps. It also prevents them from speeding up certain internet traffic for payment. Amy Kiley has more on how this could change your online experience.
Net neutrality is making a comeback with an FCC vote today. That means internet providers won't be able to speed up or slow down certain traffic. New FCC rules ban blocking, throttling, or disadvantaging certain content, apps, or services. They also bar prioritizing them in return for payment. An FCC vote under the Obama administration is what first put net neutrality in play.
You would get AOL and CompuServe and services like that saying, well, we provide email services and you can make websites and there's shopping. So we're more than simple utilities. And what's happened over time is that consumers don't want to get that stuff from their broadband provider.
It's been gone since 2018 due to a later FCC decision under the Trump administration.
The Internet of 2014 was not some sort of hopeless hellscape. It was actually pretty awesome.
This time around, the FCC is taking into account modern use of smartphones and other devices. But the basic debate is the same. Advocates for net neutrality say they want a free and open internet. Opponents argue that's bad for businesses and consumers.
Innovation has flourished. Competition has increased. The internet remains a vehicle for free and open discourse.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
The FCC says it'll take a couple months to enact the rules, but opponents are already gearing up for legal challenges. Such cases could more broadly impact the government's power to regulate the industry.
Good evening. We've really been spoiled with a lot of great weather this past month, and today was no different as we have a high of 63 today and really sunny skies, so it's really pleasant if you had any outside activities to do. Little chilly this morning, but that's to be expected this time of year. Currently, we are sitting at 63 degrees and still clear as a result of some high pressure in the area. As you can see here, this high pressure has moved in and really set up shop and blown out a lot of that rain and precipitation and colder air that we had sitting over us over the past few days. And coming behind it, we have a lot of warm air that's going to bring with it some precipitation or rain, and that won't stick around too long, but we will have the warmer temperatures. As you can see, coming up from the south, we have this area of warmer air coming up, and it will set up and really give us some high temperatures looking into the 80s as we start next week, and this will really be great as you sit outside over the weekend. Now tonight we will, as a result of the lack of clouds in the area, go down to 32 degrees, and that's because all the energy we get from the sun throughout the day dissipates as a result of the clouds not being there to really insulate and keep that energy in. As you can see, because of this, we have this frost advisory and this special weather statement, both related to frost. So if you have plants that you want to keep alive, really make sure you bring those in tonight so that they'll stay alive longer. Looking into tomorrow is when that temperature really starts to jump as a result of that warm air coming up. We have a high of 77 degrees with partly sunny skies. So some clouds in there, and again, those clouds will insulate us as we only have a low of 56 degrees. Again, tomorrow, you start to see this warm air come up, and this is really what we call a mid-latitude cyclone, and in between this red line and this blue line is where you're going to get a lot of that warm air that's really going to warm us up as we move into the weekend and beyond. Again, that precipitation will mostly miss us here in southern Ohio, but it will start to have a little bit of severe weather in the central states, but that won't affect us much. Again, tomorrow night, it will move more. But again, stay away from us because we have that lingering high pressure moving those clouds and that rain out. So again, a pretty pleasant night tomorrow. Looking into Saturday, it moves all the way through, and we're going to be right in that warmer weather, and so we'll start to see those temperatures really start to skyrocket, and they won't drop too much overnight as a result of that cloud cover. You can see that little bit of colder air coming behind it, but that won't mess with us too much as our temperatures will stay pretty high. Looking into Saturday, you can start to see the precipitation coming behind, but nothing is really developed yet, so we're not sure what will happen mid next week. Looking into the weekend, you have a few showers early Saturday, but nothing to really speak of on Sunday, with a high of 85 on Sunday. Looking into the start of next week, we have rain on Monday and Tuesday, along with Wednesday, but it starts to clear out as we move throughout that week, with a chance of severe weather throughout that. But you can see those temperatures really stay, 85, 79, It'll be great weather, and it'll really start to feel like summer.
Thanks, Steve. Protests and arrests continue at colleges and universities across the U.S.
From Boston to California, police have cuffed pro-Palestinian protesters demonstrating their discontent over the war in Gaza. Cole Higgins has the latest from across the country.
Long live Palestine!
Walkouts, protest, and arrest set the scene for what's happening from coast to coast. This is a time that students usually would be focusing on classwork. Instead, they are focused on the Israel-Hamas war and writing their own chapter in the history books on American civil disobedience.
It was an overwhelming amount of force against a group of college students. They were in riot gear. It wasn't a riot. It was a peaceful 4-day encampment. People were singing for most of it and dancing.
In Boston, some students spent the morning trying to find a friend who was arrested to bail her out. Down south, protesters at Atlanta's Emory University were being taken in.
Why do we have police on this campus? Do we not see that anytime the police officers come, it exacerbates it? The police officers should be ashamed. Emory should be ashamed, and President Fenves do something.
Critics say university presidents need to do more. Some are canceling in-person classes and in some instances leaning on law enforcement for help. On Wednesday, close to 100 arrests were made at University of Southern California by the LAPD.
The university is a private campus, and the group had been violating some of their orders, and it was a trespass at that point.
Emerson school officials penning a letter to its student body saying, quote, "We support our community's right to express their views through protest. However, they must do so in a manner consistent with the laws." I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
Next, a historic Uptown Athens building is getting a new lease on life.
And for the latest from Newswatch, follow us on Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube.
What was that?
Something extraordinary.
It's bigger than that.
I'm learning all the time.
Welcome to my world.
Your love for your little boy shines out. I adore this job.
Think about what we've been fighting for, the truth.
I'm trying to move past guilt, seek redemption. That's impressive.
Sunday on WOUB.
Times are changing.
every nut and bolt, you know its breaking point, but the humans have not been quantified.
I'm here to serve, I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow, and so whatever happens, just remember that.
I was diagnosed with Parkinson's at 39.
You never know what's going to happen if you don't give up.
Holding it together is more exhausting than the disease itself.
You might live.
You have to hunt. If you don't do subsistence activities, you die.
It connects us to our past.
The project is about uncovering hidden deaths.
In collaboration with the Associated Press, an investigation into police restraint.
You find so many families left with unanswered questions.
He could not have died.
People know about deaths in police interactions, but no one really knows the extent of it. We're real-world practitioners, so we're dealing with a real-world problem.
It's important to identify what went wrong and who was responsible.
Tuesday at 10 on WOUB.
An empty building sits at the corner of Court Street and Union Street in Uptown Athens, as it has since 2019. But a new boutique hotel inspired by the street's history is bringing new life to the block. News reporter Emily Stokes from The Post spoke with city officials about incoming hotel and its history. Thanks for being here, Emily.
Thanks for having me.
So what can you tell me about the history of this building?
So the building was built by the Lostro Automotive Company in 1914, and it was a variety of different restaurants through the century, including a place called Varsity Inn and Full Wilders in the basement. And then it became a bookstore for a number of years, and that closed back in 2019, and it's been empty ever since.
So what is the development plan for this hotel?
So the development company is a Columbus-based development company called Indus Hotels, and they plan to create a boutique-style extended stay hotel. It's going to have 22 rooms on the second floor, and then it will have a quick service restaurant and retail on the first floor. And they're hoping to create 75 permanent jobs and 65 construction jobs in the process.
So you said this is an older building, dates back to 1914. What kind of obstacles are those construction workers facing?
So already they've had some obstacles with asbestos on the outside of the building, and that was something they were able to tackle before construction. And the second obstacle is there's a utility vault that's underneath the sidewalk that's been creating some leaking into the basement of the building, and they plan to rip out the sidewalk over the summer and fill in that vault so that it doesn't create any issues in the future.
So this building has remained empty for a really long time. How has Indus Hotels made this project possible?
So they're bringing a lot of assets to Athens from Columbus with their resources. One of the big ones is that it's supposed to be an $11 million project, and they've received around $1 million in tax credits from the Ohio Department of Development under their mixed-use development program that will really help them complete this project.
Okay, so, and you also told me that you wrote a story this past week. What's going on that first floor?
Yeah, so they have plans to put a Cane's in the restaurant space in the first floor, and we know that because they have submitted some building permits that have been approved with the state of Ohio.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Emily. If you want to read her full story, go to thepostathens.com and take a look under that news section. Still ahead, Orlando Police Department gets a special new addition. But first, here's a look at what's coming up on your public television station.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be an artist. A big reason for this? My teachers.
Look at you! You're so good!
Art in school is what made me want to get to school every day.
I've had such a good time doing this with you.
I just think joy has got to be a part of education.
You ready for class?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Friday at 10 on WOUB.
I am forever changed.
On Finding Your Roots.
Wes Studi.
I'd say things like, I don't have a dad.
And LeVar Burton.
You grow up just with the blanks.
Trauma on the Trail of Tears.
I know it's got to be painful.
We've lived with that pain for a long time.
And a shocking family discovery.
What?
Yeah.
Kunta!
Kunta.
Got white ancestry!
Tuesday at 8 on WOUB.
Subtle rises in sea level.
The demise of coral reefs.
Devastating changes take place.
These events are climate change.
It's really a crossroads for humanity.
This is serious.
To heal the earth, we have to think of new ways.
Let's figure it out.
It's science, it's engineering, and it's conservation.
A new species.
Amazing.
The greatest opportunities are in chaos.
It is a breakthrough.
We're at a period of remaking the world.
Addressing global crisis.
We can change the earth.
We're doing this for the future. If we don't, what then? You're a police officer.
Meet the newest addition to the Orlando Police Department, Officer Stone Hicks. Stone was sworn in as an honorary officer thanks to the help of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Years ago, the 4-year-old was struggling with kidney failure, and his dad was able to help, donating one of his own just 2 years ago, and now he's doing great. Since then, he's always dreamed of being a police officer. With the help of the Orlando Police Department and Orlando City Soccer, they made his dream come true. Minutes after being sworn in, Officer Stone got his first case. A doggone dirty criminal stole a pup. He solved the case before you could even bark woof. Stone's dad said this is a dream come true for him.
In the police cars and rushing to the bad guys and arresting them and everything, it was like a full-on experience for him, so one that I'm pretty sure he will not forget.
After a long day's work, the seasoned officer came back to the headquarters for a hero's welcome and posed for pictures in his shiny new cop car. Yeah, guys, that is a really heartwarming story. I mean, he had to be on top of the world after that.
No, really, Make-A-Wish does these really amazing things. I'm so glad that he got to experience that.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like a great day for the weather for it, too. It looked sunshiny. It looked like everyone was out.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems like everyone is having great weather these days, because I know we are for sure, because we've had sunshine all over the place. So that's really not going anywhere for us. As tonight, however, we'll have a low of 32. But again, that's because those clouds aren't here and we're having such sunny days. Now, because of that cold air, we do have a frost advisory in Athens and a special weather statement related to frost with our friends down in Parkersburg and in West Virginia. So if you have any plants that you want to bring inside, again, you really want to, otherwise they might not make it very long. Tomorrow, like I said, we're having great weather with a high of 77 and only a low of 56 because we have some clouds in the area with that partly sunny sky. Tomorrow, we'll have that warm air start to make its way towards us, and that rain will really stay off into the central parts of the United States, so we won't really be affected by that, but we will have that warmer air coming our way. And as it extends into Saturday, we'll have even warmer air after that warm front passes through, but we'll have some patchy rain in there, followed by a little bit of cooler weather on the back end of that, but that won't be around for much. Looking into our extended 7-day outlook, looking on to Monday, we'll have some thunderstorms around, possibly, but we'll have a high of 86, so it's a little bit of a trade-off. On Tuesday, that rain sticks around, and on Wednesday, it'll stick around for even more.
Now that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. For Steve Nedlick, I'm Donovan Varney.
And I'm Lucy Schaefer. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org and follow us on social media. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night.